We have this edition, it's page 22. We're holding in footnote number 7. It's on the bottom of page 23, actually.
You got him?
You got it? No. Yeah. So if you look on page 22, he says here this is really, I guess, a chiddush in bold. V'koi haya dibroi dvarai elai tamid. This is the son of Reb Chaim Volozhin, who's saying that koi haya dvarai elai tamid. This is what my father used to always tell me. Shezek kol ha'adam lo la'atzmai nivra. That the whole purpose of a person, the whole reason for our creation, our whole raison d'etre, is lo la'atzmai nivra, is we're not created for ourselves. In other words, there's a cardinal error in that we think that we're created for ourselves. Fair enough. Why are we created? We're created for ourselves. So he says no. The main thing he would say is that our purpose in life is to do what we can do for others. I say it's a chiddush. I can't find articulated in any place. I can't find. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I can't find articulated anywhere in Sefarim that the purpose of a person, the purpose of our creation, is for others. It's nice, but I just can't. I can't find it. It's also very difficult to wrap our brain around because, at least my brain around, because it means to say that if there's ever a question of should I do something for myself or should I do something for others, so then you can ask yourself, like, what's my purpose? Like, why did Hashem create me? Did He create me to do something for? Let's say we would be malachim. So, like a malach says, listen, I got to take care of number one. But you're a malach. Your purpose here is to do a job. So there's no difference. As I always quote the Ramchal, there's really no difference between a person and a malach, except that we're in this world and the malachim are up there. We're really just malachim, meaning, what do we mean malachim? We're at a simple nature, at a simple level, we're just created as workers, to do something in the world. On a deeper level, like the Mekubalim explain, malachim are really all the forces of nature are malachim. Gravity is a malach. It's hard to understand that way because we think of malachim in terms of things, that beings, sort of spiritual beings. Everything Hashem created were malachim, meaning shluchim, including malachim, Raphael, Gavriel, but everything's a malach. So we're part of this world. So being part of this world, like, what is the purpose of a tree? Is a tree there for the tree? I got to worry about the tree. Or is a tree there to give fruit to people? What's the purpose of a cow? What's the purpose of a person? This is what we're here for. We're here, Hashem created us to do for other people. It's a chiddush that if you look at this far, the quote that always comes up is this quote from the Nefesh Hachaim, from the Hakdama of the Nefesh Hachaim. That's the quote. This is the source. But I imagine culminated from every even I'm not going to go there, but I'm just throwing this out there. Like what's the purpose of Hashem? Right. Is that like? I mean, so obviously we don't know, but it seems that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do whatever He wants to do, put Himself in a position that His whole purpose is lahativ, to do for others, to do for people, to create a world in order to be able to do for the world. in order to bring out his Rachum V'Chanun. So if you talk about the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't even know like what's going on there in the Kesser. Well, the part that's important to us is the Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed. That's what's important to us, and that's what's important to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be Mofia, what he's doing for others. So if you try to position ourselves in this world, so the correct way to position ourselves, not who am I, but what am I here for? And when it really works out, it changes really everything. It's such a simple little paradigm shift that changes everything in life. That when I have to make any kind of decision, should I, shouldn't I, do I, don't I, it's really about doing it for other people. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take care of yourself, because probably Malachim have to take care of themselves too. But the thing is that in sense of priority, put other people before you. You know, gentlemen, others first. There's
I said a marshal something like you find a guy made out of a machine. So what does it do? It takes care of itself for 70, 80 years. What does it do?
What's the purpose?
That's all. That's what it does. It's like what makes something like that.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly. Good marshal. Like it was the purpose of a machine. Any machine is to be able to
Do something.
to do something. So we're going to do something. So what are we going to do? We're created for something. What do we have to do? We have to do for others. So. But it's the problem is like a machine doesn't have any bechira chavshus. Okay, however you program it, that's what it's going to do. Whereas it's like almost humorous to think about it when you think about a machine or you think about. But it's the same thing. Or even if you hire somebody, like what's your purpose? Your purpose is to do for the company, not to take care of yourself. That's not the. So if we understand that we are God's machinery or God's tools to do for others. It not only changes our decision making, it changes our whole attitude towards doing it for other people. It's not like, I'm crawling out of my, I'm doing a big chesed, and I should get a testimonial dinner, or you get put up plaques. You're just doing what you were created to do. That's all.
So if I left with Rachel, is that what you were saying?
That's what Hashem does, right?
That's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Why we do that?
Okay, so maybe it's a makar. I'm just saying we don't think about it that way. We think of it's a chesed from Hashem that He's doing for others. Not that Hashem put Himself in a position. That's what I'm doing. V'dan v'chayra oyev shalom, reidev shalom, oyev esabrius v'karvin l'tar. That's what we spoke about. So the footnote says here, kagavna similarly, on the bottom, shurgavnu lahatzia tefillah shlomo hamelech. Often referred to the tefillah of Shlomo HaMelech. This is what Shlomo HaMelech said. These are his words when he built the Bais Rishon. As he was building the Bais Rishon in Yerushalayim, which was full of glory and full of beautiful things, and full of kavod. There's a lot of kavod. And he was a melech, and he was very mechubad as a melech. He wasn't one of these melachim that was a straggler. He was mechubad. But what he said was, this is what it says there, Melachim Aleph. Ki ha'amnam yeshev alikim al haaretz shetimsa yadcha ligmol kol chasadim tovim. Ki amnam means, what does amnam mean? Is it possible, it's like a rhetorical question, amnam, is it possible even that yeshev alikim al haaretz, in other words, you're telling me build a Beis HaMikdash. Shlomo HaMelech, build a Beis HaMikdash, that's my nevuah. So are you saying now, Hashem, this is what Shlomo HaMelech says, that you're going to come, V'shachanti b'soichlei, I'm going to live with you, that you're going to come and you're just going to actually sit here amongst us? Is that what you're saying? Amnam yeshev alikim al haaretz, shetimsa yadcha ligmol kol chasadim tovim asher yechta ish l'reyehu, that whenever there's a fight between Shmerel and Berel, the silly little things that people get involved with. Are you saying that by me building a Beis HaMikdash, you're willing to be involved on that level? Tasa chesed b'gvura lahatzel oshek b'yad oshka. You're going to use your gvura to save the person who's being hurt from the person who's hurting him. Ish asher yasik gvura to shiveu al admasai. He's saying that if somebody encroaches onto the territory of another person, right? So I start planting, Reuven plants some of his tomatoes and it goes a little bit over into the earth, into the territory of the other person. So you're talking about 6 inches of land, and Bate Didabar full of these 6 inches of land? What are you encroaching on my territory? So are you telling me you're willing to be involved in this? Let's just stop and breathe for a second. When we think about the tachlis of the Beis HaMikdash, we don't think about it as Hashem being involved in my tomatoes. But that's what Shlomo HaMelech understood it to be. When you're saying, V'asuli mikdash v'shachati b'soicham, what you're saying here is that you're going to get involved in the tiny minutiae and really smallness and small-mindedness of people. Is that, Shlomo HaMelech is rhetorically saying, am I understanding the space of English correctly? That he's not a great, temple to God, where there's unbelievable, where you walk in there and you leave the whole world outside. That's not the pshat. like this place, which is very ethereal and very, misromem on the bria. Here's a piece of shamayim al haaretz. I think that's the way normally that's the way I think about it anyways. Like you go to this place, you can be mispashek, you're free from all the gashmias. Shlomo HaMelech flipped it around. He said, you're telling me, build a Beis HaMikdash, and I want a place to live here in this world, so I'm living amongst you. You're going to get involved in all the pettiness that we're involved in. That was Shlomo HaMelech pointed out. Amazing insight that he said.
So where is this in?
This is page 23. Where is it in the
I
book?
don't have the source.
It's where did Shlomo HaMelech say this? Malachim Aleph Ches Chav Zayin. But it says there in the you don't have the same book?
No.
On the bottom of the page. Oh, I see.
Today we're pretty sure that Hashem is involved in all kind of things.
Yeah, we take it that way.
Yeah, it's, people say.
Yeah, but it's because I don't think about it too much. It's really a pella. It's like even the Prime Minister of Israel, who's not God by any stretch of the imagination, right? So are you really concerned about whether I extend my porch too far or not extend my porch? There's my people, my government. Yeah, we can't have chaos here. So you have malachim, but when Hashem is saying build a Beis HaMikdash, I want to live there. So you're right. That's how we understand Hashgacha Pratis, and somehow come. But that's how Shlomo HaMelech understood the Chiddush here is. That's how he understood the Beis HaMikdash. That's the Chiddush. The purpose of the Beis HaMikdash is to bring God into the neighborhood.
Yeah, but today there's no Beit HaMikdash, but people still think that we hold it. Everything comes here is like.
Yeah, we do.
Involved in it.
Good for you. Yeah.
Is that, I guess even the Reb's example though, a prime minister I understand, but a king, a real human king, would care about each person's porch. He does care about each person in his kingdom in a certain way. And so to say that's such a huge, unexpected chiddush, is it really so unexpected for a king?
Maybe it's expected, but it's not done. I don't.
It depends why the king wants it. Normally, let's say in the ancient time, kings wanted it for their own thing. It wasn't because it was like altruistic or
Right.
Isn't there a big difference between caring and being involved with also? Where's that
Also,
transformation taking place?
right. So caring, we can understand. I care. I have a malchus. I care. See, the reason I think it changes everything is that like we're all kings on some level. Like we're all but is the whole live in royalty. The entourage, the motorcade, all of this royalty. I'm not questioning their kavanas. There's no question in my mind they don't have this kavanah. but it's all about the people. That's so all of the covenant tifaris of the Beis HaMikdash, Shlomo HaMelech has pointed out, it's all about the people, which he said is a pella because. I just want to point something out. I've said this many times in different ways. I just want to say it because I think it's part of me to say. Just even Hashem is like in a way like so out there. Like it's so impossible to conceive of. Little kids have things in their head about an old man with a white beard or some type of a wizard or something that's running the world or. The truth is that we know that the minute that you think that you can conceive of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't. Well, so what is it? Are you talking? You're not talking about anything that we can do. Talk about energy? No, it's not energy. Are you talking about something beyond energy, like some kind of a force? It's not really a force. You talk about you go to philosophically, like what is God? As mature Jews, impossible. You're stuck. So how are we supposed to daven in front of Hashem with the idea of dalif ne'miat oimed? As a how do what are you asking us to do? Dalif ne'miat oimed, or tell me, listen, mote dalif ne'miat oimed. You have no idea, but somehow or another daven anyway. And yet here's the point I want to make. Yet it's perfectly natural for us and for that matter all humans to do that. Even going, it's perfectly natural to totally not understand something. It's something beyond, and then daven a babish personal to Hashem, help me. I don't feel good today. Help me. I need some parnasa. Help me. So somehow or another, it's a pella, no? It's a pella, and this I believe is what we're talking about. There's a certain siyata d'shmaya, if you will, that even though Hashem is inconceivable, is totally accessible. It's something that we have to live with, which is complicated to live with if you think about it. Maybe the answer is don't think about it, but that there is a bechina of da. There's a bechina of das, and the bechina of das is l'mala bin aseichel, and yet you tell a bar mitzvah kid or even younger, daven, talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, gavet lifnei rabbi. But don't even try to think about who you're talking to, what you're talking to. You're talking to the wall. God's not a wall. We're facing towards the Ark Kodesh. No, that's not it. What is it? So the answer is that there's a certain presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that if you're open to it, it's accessible, not understandable, but it's accessible. I presume, I just had this conversation with my 3-year-old grandson. So he said, he doesn't understand where God is. He said, so I said, well, he's invisible. It's not you can't really see. So he said, oh, so he's like air, like air. So I said, okay, it's like air, but air you can.
Can't argue with a 3-year-old.
You can't argue with a 3-year-old. No, there's a basic need of a smart little kid to come up with some kind of a mushal. So air was the closest that he could get. Truth is, he's much way ahead of me. And this is like air. Well, air, you can sort of, you can't live without it. You can access it, but nobody sees it. So I told him it's more like Wi-Fi. Well,
you get it? That was good.
Yeah, you got it.
Wi-Fi is only 50 meters. Wi-Fi is only 50 meters.
Only 50 meters, right? Well, that'll change. But okay, so here's the chiddush of the Beis Hamikdash that because of so when we daven, here's the nekuda here. When we daven for siyata d'shmaya, v'nasati matar. Matar be'itoi, right? That you're going to make it rain. All of that is what we're. All of that davening, everything that we're doing is only talking about Hashem being present in the world. We're all talking about the Shekhinah. All the tefillos that we like, all the Shemona Esrei, I have a headache, help me with my head. That's all about Hashgacha Pratis, all about the Shekhinah, and that's what Shlomo HaMelech pointed out. Cool, you're willing to do this. V'nasatu lem motor ra kiyev v'nasatu lechem yisirai mariai tala aruch l'chol negei levav tachbosh la'atzvesa. Anybody who's sad, you're going to give him a bandage for his heart, for his soul. You're going to heal the downtrodden. Umala haaretz darchei tuvcha laheitiv v'chol minei hatavos. So that's how Shlomo HaMelech understood the Beis Hamikdash. I just brought this. I want to just read you a paragraph. The Itzele Chaim, something one day you have to learn, is the written recordings of Reb Chaim Vital's learning by the Arizal. Torah Arizal. This is the Itzele Chaim. You can't really get closer to the Arizal than the Itzele Chaim. this is what the Arizal taught, and if you read the Hakdama here, fascinating that there was a number of Talmidim, they all took notes from the Arizal, and the Arizal said, no, this is not right, that's not right. The only one is Reb Chaim Vital. He's the only one that whose notes are correct. And he told Reb Chaim Vital, you're the only one who can publish my notes. Then Reb Chaim Vital refused to publish his notes, and he hid them, and one time he even burnt them. He didn't want everyone, they had to take it from a streifa and put it back together again. He had a pachad of being the one who had the responsibility of recording the Shiurim of the Arizal. But at the end it was recorded, and that's the Nefesh Hachaim, the Reb Chaim Vital's notes of the Arizal. So he speaks here at the very beginning of the Nefesh Hachaim is called Shar HaIgulim. Igulim, circles. You look at the Kabbalistic charts. It's like always got a lot of circles. I'm not going to even. I'm just going to read this to you, just the paragraph. He says, "Da," first word, "Da." Kitchilas hakol, before there was anything. Hayakol hametzias or pashut. Everything in the world was or pashut. V'nikra, and that or pashut's called Ein Sof, what we would call eternity or infinity. Thank you. Ein Sof, infinity. Remember that this is not a description of Hashem. Hashem is not even. Arizal didn't even go there. What is Hashem? He's talking about after Hashem, no world, no outer space, no Mars, no Jupiter. There was one thing, and that's the Or Pashut, which is called Ein Sof. So when you hear the discussion of the Ein Sof, what we're talking about is a simple light, Or Pashut. It was completely dense. I we could spend hours trying to explain these words. I'll just say the words. If something is 100% pure, and before it turns into something else, before it morphs into something else, there's no chalo, there's no space there, there's no extra room there. There's no empty space. There's one thing, or ha'insight. Right? So here's the first sentence of the book. We lost it already, right? I don't know, maybe there's physicists here who could try to conceive of this, but there was one, or pashut. Pashut doesn't mean pashut. There's nothing pashut about this or pashut. Pashut means that it pure. Like lahavdil, like maybe uranium, or in other words, you take something in its purest form, and then you can take from that and you can build the whole world. But that where the whole world came from is Or HaPashut. And that Or HaPashut is infinite. So is light really infinite? I don't know. Is light infinite? Probably not.
If nothing stops it, it'll go forever. Like
Does it?
Fiber optics
I don't think
is
so.
never ending.
Never ending.
I don't think that's the way the modern scientist understands it. Light has speed, which means at some point it's here and then it's there. So that's not infinite. That's measurable.
It's not this light.
That's measurable.
See, I know there was more to this than I can understand, but probably it's called Or Pashut because that's the closest you can get to infinity in this world, because it's going the speed of light, right? So, but I mean in a Pashut way that here's Or, and the Or goes and goes and goes, and as Moshe says, unless something's stopping it, it seems to keep going. So, but there's this Or Pashut. Hakol haya Or ha'ein sof. Ukisha'Allah b'Itzele lahatzil hanetzalim. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that light to reflect on something. L'siba noidas, for the well-known reason. This is really the main sentence I want to read you. L'siba noidas. It's for a very obvious reason. Why does Hashem take? Here's Hashem. And for some reason he made this or pashut. So leave it alone. You leave it alone, there's no world. There's no universe. There's nothing. It's nothing that we would have any. I mean, there's no us. There's nothing. There's no we. So it's just a sort of pashut. Okay, this is why you go crazy if you study Kabbalah, because what does that mean? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to take the or pashut and grow it into everything that we see today. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya, the world that we live in. L'siba nodas, for the obvious reason. What's the obvious reason? V'hi likarei rachum v'chanun, because he wanted to be called a rachum and a chanun. So in this, in other words, part of the kimein ba'olam misha yikabel rachamim mimenu, if there's nobody in this bria that needs rachmanus, eich yikarei rachamim, eich yikarei rachum. So how is he a rachum? And that's true with all the 13 kinuyim of Hashem. So just like, literally, chapter 1, sentence 1 of Torah's Harizah, that the Hashem, in essence, when we talk about the midos of Hashem, Racham, Chanun, Chapayim, in essence, that is Hashem. As much as we can, that's all part of that or, Pasha, hasn't it, Rachum, is the recipe of the or, Rachum, Chanun. But if it doesn't actually manifest itself in anything, if it doesn't actually help anybody, so so it's not about cover. Who's going to call him Rachum? Who cares? It needs somebody to call him Rachum. But if the Rachum doesn't come out the way I understand this, if the Rachum doesn't come out in a practical way, then there's something missing in the Rachum. There's a lack of shleimus in HaKadosh Baruch Hu Gufa that we can understand. Klaimar that, like the mashal I always give is if a person has like a lot of money, they want to give tzedakah. Got money, $100 million. I want to give tzedakah. I want to give away $10 million to tzedakah. So okay, that's there. The $100 million is there. The $10 million is there. It's there. The fact that it's allocated for tzedakah, it's there. But let's say, I create a foundation. I talk to the lawyers. I talk to the bankers. I get the checkbook. I incorporate this thing. I work it out with the government. I spent 10 years on this, but no ani ever actually gets the handout of $100 to buy himself Shabbos. So b'meh yikra rachum. It's not tzedakah. At the end, it's not tzedakah. So in order for the shleimus of tzedakah to happen, in order for this tzedakah to be called tzedakah, there has to be a makabel. Otherwise, it's not for the sake of the makabel, really, it's for the sake of Hashem. That the rachum, it's not that how's anybody going to know that I'm a rachum? How's anybody going to know I'm a chacham? There is no anybody. But is the rachum really complete if you're not having rachamim on somebody else? That's the question. So what he's saying over here is, the Arizal, that that the shleimus of the midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Gufa is totally in a makabel. So question, why did Hashem create the world? Answer, because there would not be any shleimus to the midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu if there weren't people in the world.
People with needs.
With needs. And who doesn't have needs? And we all have to. So, Va'az, just reading this just to mix it up, I'm not. Va'az tzim seimam seibam sahar shalai. Okay. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is then mitzamtzim himself into his art. And here in these few words of the big, machlokas of tzimtzum, what does it mean? Tzimtzei ma'atzmai, or shalai. Okay.
Can you take that one step further?
If you want to.
The light, it's coming from a perfect light. It was only brought down in this way in order to, which needs a makabel, in order that the shame, rachum, and all the other shemos should come with it. Doesn't that imply that every single makom in the realized world has to have the ability to be makabel this rachum? Meaning those 6 inches of earth on this person's side of the land or that side of the land is a relevant expression of that.
Oh, so that's not taking a step further,
Otherwise,
that's,
it has to be, it's a perfect light, so it has to be
right, so,
brought into this world for that purpose, no?
that's, I don't know, it's a step further, it's due to the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that like light, again, I'm not a bucky, but like light, if it doesn't reflect on anything, it's not really light. It's light, but until it hits the surface, it's not really light. It's not offering any light. So, chaser in the light itself. So, it is, as you say, the 6 inches of land. This is what Shlomo HaMelech was saying. That is what we're saying of HaKadosh Baruch Hu building the world, and hence the Beis HaMikdash, and further to the Beis HaMikdash, the Shechina of happening over here. That's all about the permeation of this light hitting the surface of the earth. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does.
According to that, why do you need a Beis HaMikdash then?
It's just the perfect receptor. It's the perfect receptor. You don't need the Beis HaMikdash. I mean, in essence, we have our own problems without the.
If you have makabel everywhere.
Look, what's the
Not-
Beis
not-
HaMikdash?
not
The Beis
enough.
HaMikdash. No, but the Beis
Decentralized?
HaMikdash is the perfect combination of everybody's contributions, of everybody's there. Kol B'nai Yisrael are there. So what we're done is we've created this great receptor, this great antenna, if you will, for the this big thing that's makabel, the Shechina, and that gives a dira b'tachtonim. But you're right, every place is a dira
Monsey the
b'tachtonim.
shekel is everybody's in there.
Everybody's in there. Not everybody's in there, but everybody's in there with their stuff. Like this one's bringing their gold, and the women are bringing their jewelry, and like everybody's bringing their stuff. So it's my stuff. Like it's so base. It's so gashmias.
Well, that's the thing. It shows that, like we said in Torah, you can take the gashmias and make it ruchnias. If you didn't have a Beis HaMikdash to show that lesson, you wouldn't know. Maybe
Right. Over here, though, it's the other way that Hashem's taking the ruchnias and He's turning it into the gashmias. So. Okay.
Wasn't the Beis HaMikdash a tikkun? Mishka a tikkun?
A tikkun. What do you mean? It's a chet.
Was it a chet? Yeah.
Okay. So he hanoisenes that before there was a chet, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is willing to do this in Gan Eden, keep shutai to the world. But once we pushed away the Shekhinah, so what's going on really in the whole world, every minute of our lives, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu trying to force this light in, and as you say, Adam and Chava pushing it away. So the Beis HaMikdash is completely open to this. How does this translate into our day-to-day behavior? And here he's telling us that it's if we're supposed to be B'Tselem Elokim, if we're meant to be something like Hashem, if that's what we're just carrying on. So Loi Latzvah, like Hashem could also say, like I'm here, this is me, I'm here for me. And that's why I said before, this like brain twisting question, what's Hashem for? It's what I'm understanding from the Arizal is in my Ani HaKoden. What I'm understanding from the Arizal is that there would be no mashmos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu if there wasn't a world, Kiviyachol, just like there would be no mashmos to Har Tzedakah if there was no Ani. And there would be no mashmos to his Rachum if there was nobody who had needs. And if we are not going to sit here and argue about you blocking the light on my porch, so and HaKadosh Baruch Hu getting involved with that, so what then is the purpose of everything? So that's the pshat in halacha, and that's the pshat in the minutiae of halacha. The minutiae of halacha, which for instance, the Christians just don't buy. Like why would God get involved in how thick my tefillin are? So, the New Testament's full of knocking this, worried about the thickness here. It's everything. It's everywhere. It's how you shech that cow, and how you eat the cow, and how you clean the cow, and how you take the blood out of the cow. Like that. That's all. It's halal. B'chol drachecha deyehu. It's got to be everywhere. It's got to permeate everything, every part of our life. I always think about that Gemara that says that one of the Talmidim hid under the bed of his Rebbe while he was with his wife. So he said, give me a break. I don't have to be a Rebbe every second. He said, Torah v'lomad ani tzarech. This is an important part of life, and I need to learn about it. That's it. You're stuck, Rebbe. That's Torah v'lomad ani tzarech. Where should the Ruach of Hashem not permeate? At what point can we close the door and say, okay, must speak? I'm not, like Hilchos Sneas. I'm not talking about, but from this point of view, it has to permeate every single thing. So, din pruta kedin meya. Dayanim are not entitled to say this is a small case. Take it to small claims court. There is no small claims court. Your pruta is where Hashem, wherever you let him in. That's where he is and wants to be everywhere.
So what Yisro said to Moshe about having all these middlemen, that was not a good thing.
It was a b'diavad, right? V'zeh haya derech limudei. So let's just read this paragraph here. The next paragraph. V'zeh haya derech limudei b'kodesh. This is the way he used to learn. Me'odo from when he was young. Hein b'Torah, hein b'derech Hashem hayisharim shayamoreh. Whether he was teaching about the Derech Hashem. The Derech always was, Hiniach Kvoid Atzmai, Ubacher Loi Lamed Basher Yitav Lahem La'achrina. I saw in the, just to mention, I saw there was one of these circulars going around on the Parsha. So I think it was Parshas Tetzaveh. So they had a thing from Rav Sternbach, Shlita. So Rav Sternbach was saying that, the Kohen Gadol, let's say, has to wear Shmona Begadim. So, Kavadul Sifars was wearing all these beautiful Begadim. So let's say, let's say the Kohen Gadol says, you know what, I want to just dress like everybody else. I want all this, glamour and everything. I'll do the avoid, but just, leave me with the Begadim, or, with the Begadim. So he's not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to be Mishamish Beguna without the Begadim. So he says that so too, if somebody is, let's say, a teacher in Klal Yisrael, so you can't say, I don't want to wear the Levush of a Talmud Chacham. You have an obligation to wear the Levush of a Talmud Chacham. So it was like his, otherwise you're a Mechusar Begadim. You're a Mechusar Begadim. That's what he says. So, okay, that's that for the person who's headed in the right place. That's a huge burden. That what he's saying. Like the minute you're wearing these begadim for your kavod or for your tiferes, then of course you're missing the whole thing. It's a huge burden to say that no, you can't just hide and say that I'm not. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to get into those begadim too. The way I'm understanding it, the kavod gufa has to be permeated with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but that's like the ultimate nanivas. It'd be much easier to just be like a regular tzaddik nister. That's like very easy. It's even easier than being a tzaddik nister is to meditate on a mountaintop. That's even easier because you have to deal with all the mishigas of the world, just you and Hashem. But what are you doing? What did you, for this you were created? Let's show these people on mountaintops. It's not. The idea is to do for the tzibur. And continue Hashem's work. So when he used to teach, he niach kvoid atzmai, he left his own covet aside. How so? So here's an interesting thing with the Rebbe. A Rebbe, is a Rebbe teaching what the people need to learn, or is a Rebbe teaching what he wants to teach? A simple example. Asher kikatan kigadol yishmun, he would have listeners that were small people, that were big people. And what he would do in the city in Volozhin, I saw, by the way, the letters, every if you look at the Shalos and Shuvas, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Akiva Eger, like they all sign their name, like Akiva Eger, Av based in Depo, or Rav Depo, So I saw the Shuvas of Reb Chaim Volozhin, so he signs Chaim Yelid Volozhin. That's all. I'm a Volozhiner. That's the way he. So he Layiniach Yada. He never relieved himself. To run to the city people, go to shul. Parsha misidra de shavua yom yom. He would always teach the parsha. What's going on in the parsha? V'chol hanichnasim lebeis hamedrash. So it means to say he was in yeshiva, and we would run from the yeshiva every day to go to shul and speak to the simple people, the tailors, the blacksmiths. He would speak to them about the parsha. V'chol hanichnasim lebeis hamedrash. And everybody who came to the Beis Medrash, Yotza Molei Dvar Davar Kasher Kol Echa Kollel Lefi Darkei. Everybody, from the Amaratzim to the very sophisticated Talmidei Chacham, came out with something. Whoa, what the Rav said. Oy Avei Apshat Kol Tu Oimek Pshutei B'Mikra. They got the simple pshat in the pasuk. Darshei Harishumim, if they were big Mekubalim. Darshu Mashalacha Aznam. They would say whole drushes about the nuances of Kabbalah, same speech. But everybody, he had this koach of being able to teach everybody, but make sure that it hits every single ear, because this is the way, the Or Pashut, coming into this world. Short words that he would say, everybody was happy. Nobody walked out and said, oh, I lost him, way over my head. Because he was able to do this in a way to make sure, this was important to him, to make sure that even a little child could understand it. See, it's a new Havana, because they say the Brisker Rav, so what he used to teach, he used to say that, he used to say it over the shir on his way to the yeshiva. He used to say it over to the guy who drove him there, the balagala, the horse. So he explained that if my balagala doesn't understand it, then it's not a good shir. That was a famous, you always hear that, and you think, or he wants to make sure that he's not missing any pieces in his sophistication, and even the balagala can understand it. So the point that it came, like the brisker balagala, the future gadol, brisker balagala. But it's probably really deeper than that. That if it doesn't work for the balagala, so then it's like stuck here. It doesn't get all the way to where it's supposed to be. So theoretically, you can understand that Torah has to come completely. It's like mayim. Has to go into find its place. This was, I'm sorry, Kolkach. Kolkach haisa mitzvah zu chaviva be'einav, which is so important to him. Sheniach kol devarav ba'kodesh. He would leave whatever he was doing, v'haviroid lebei midrasha, and he would run to shul. When people were still davening, v'gadol sham hu. And everybody was besimcha. Reb Chaim Volozhin used to give a little shir after davening for a couple minutes. That was he left everything to be able to do that. There was no self-importance. See, I'm just wondering, how does this? Let's just talk about this for 1 second before we end. The derech of yeshivas, he was the Avi yeshivas, right? So he set forth the derech of yeshivas, which is every day that goes by bothers me a little bit more, because here he said, don't print my chidushim, it's not so important, print the Nefesh Hachaim. And of the Nefesh Hachaim, the main thing to learn is Per Gimel, Shar Gimel, Nefesh Hachaim. So in yeshivas they learn Nefesh Hachaim, they don't learn Nefesh Hachaim, but they skip Shar Gimel. Like he said to learn Shar Gimel, so why do we say we should skip Shar Gimel? Shar Gimel is the more Kabbalistic. Now if everybody, I'm just asking a question, but if everybody in the yeshiva world would learn Shar Gimel, then it would be a different yeshiva world. In fact, it would be something like the Hasidim. There wouldn't be such but it's like, we don't get it why but here he said, forget about printing everything else. I want you to print this because this is what's important for yeshivas. And like, how do we have the chutzpah to skip it? Kasha. But I just the derech. I'm trying to work this out with this derech that seems to be the derech of yeshivas to only accept the best and the brightest. Like how does that jive with the derech of he who founded the whole story of yeshivas? Like the whole idea was,
how does it jive with the Arpashut?
How does it jive with the Arpashut? That's what I was saying. I was trying to make it easy. How does it? I don't know. You see, at Brisk, you have to do somersaults to get the Risher Bar and Cutler. I mean, these are Gedolei Ador. I'm certainly not one to criticize. The original Lakewood, to get into the original Lakewood was like only Gedolim to. Like how do these schools were such sophisticated finishing schools that they wouldn't let anybody in if you weren't like.
The other direction is true also, by the way. Too much focus on the dry pine needle on the floor, and you forget that there's a forest. Is a big problem too.
Yeah.
It's not just the one who can only understand the forest, and but too much focus on one little piece of it as its own standalone thing is a problem too.
Yeah, but why can't it be like he did, that you can talk to everybody?
Yeah.
See, I don't, like when I went to school. So I went to a regular yeshiva. So there was like really smart kids, and then there was like in between normal like Beinanim, and then there was like kids like me. It ran the gamut, and like the job of a good teacher is to speak to the class. You don't just speak to the top third or to the bottom third or it seems that that's changed. I mean, hasn't it changed? Like, okay, if you're average, well, we have our special education schools, or if you're an Ilui, like, okay, we have a special yeshiva for Iluyim. Like, why is that? Like, how does that? I'm just asking a question. Like, how does that jive with what Reb Chaim Volozhin is teaching? I understand how it makes for a better, Harvard. Not so fun, but I'm not sure in terms of a yeshiva. He's explaining here what a yeshiva is, and a yeshiva is supposed to be a yeshiva for everybody.
Who can be a rebbe like Reb Chaim Volozhin or the Briskara? Who can be a rebbe like Reb Chaim Volozhin who can cater to everyone at once?
So don't be a Rosh Yeshiva. That's what a Rosh Yeshiva is supposed to do.
Well, okay, so Rosh Yeshiva, but we have you have classes, you have grades.
Vada to everybody? The Vada to everybody?
Did the Volozhin take everybody? I don't even know. I'm just saying that what we're learning here, right? So what we're learning is that there was a certain, I don't know how you got accepted into Volozhin. I don't know. You see, I tell you something about the Navardik and Salbut, as far as I know, it's unlike today. Like, not everybody wanted to go. It was something unusual that a person wanted to go to a yeshiva and dedicate his life to Torah. Now it became, you can't get a shidduch unless you do this. But this is, I think that's kind of new. I think I don't think he got such covet amongst the people for sitting and learning, like a beg kvetcher. So I don't know if it was such a nisayon. But I just what I'm asking is, and I'm just asking, I'm sure that the Gedolim have is this whole idea of like a snob school have any place in the world of the Volozhin yeshiva system that he set forth? Because our whole system that we learn, the Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Vasu, that all comes from Reb Chaim Volozhin and from Volozhin yeshivas. All the yeshivas that came from there came from this, So just like we're skipping Shar Gimel here a little bit in terms. So it needs Tzarech Iyun a little bit.
It's deeper than that. The method of pedagogy is one which caters to these splitting up of levels, and we're so ingrained in that any change in pedagogy method, teaching methodologies, is considered also us.
Apocarsis.
We tried this in Passaic. I mean, almost half the community almost got put in Chayrim from it. To teach
So-
Torah in a different way.
So let me make a political statement, and with this I will end for today. You see, the problem, in my humble opinion, is that we don't distinguish between reactions to a situation and what is in essence correct. And what I mean by that is that there was a Holocaust reality. We lost Gedolim, we lost yeshivas, we lost Rabbanon, everybody knows. Now, there was a question like, will Torah be able to survive a Holocaust or not? Okay, there's miracles that happen. I mean, the state of Israel is a miracle. Punukush Yeshiva is a miracle. There's a miracle that somehow out of these ashes came forth what we have here today. I mean, we're miracles. You know, Baal Tshuva movement is a miracle. They're like unbelievable miracles. But the question on the table was, how do you get Torah to survive this type of a Holocaust? And the system, I mean, it could be the system of school, you know, just regular yeshiva teaching everybody and just doing that thing, was not creating or replacing the Gedolim that we lost. So the reaction to the Holocaust was to create some kind of a production for a finishing school for Gedolim. Now, makes sense, right? And so many, you know, I heard something from one of the Gedolei Ador that lives today. It always just jarred me, but he said it. So he said it, you know. So he said that, look, our system, you know, it's not for everybody, right? The yeshiva system's not for everybody. But you say we lose a few, but what can you do? You have to in order to continue Klal Yisrael. You know, al karchach, you're going to lose a few along the way. But you see, what that is a reaction, a slasis lashem heferitori secha, a reaction to something so horrible as the Holocaust. But it doesn't mean that it's right. It just means that that's what you have to do at that time. There were many slasis lashem. We wrote down the Torah. There are many things you have to do so the Torah doesn't get destroyed. My question really is, at what point does that like sort of heter end? Until it seems to crawl into becoming the essence of Yiddishkeit. So what you have is a religion of reactions instead of what's the essence of what's the Ratzon Hashem. You can't like everything's an emergency. So you can't create a hospital's a hospital, doctors are doctors. It can't be the emergency room. Like that, the emergency room has its own way of working, its own triage system, its own, you know, exactly like we're talking about, emergency here. So, you know, like, what are you going to do? You know, chop off his leg. Like, it's not medicine in the normal sense of the word. Emergency medicine is a field. So that's what we're dealing with for the last, so the question, when does that expire? 50 years, 60 years, 100 years? Never. Now, can you go ahead and bring a raya that this is the derech of Torah from what people did when they were in an emergency situation? Ain't done an efshim, efshim. I don't. I'm taking a risk by even asking this question, but I'm just wondering if there is not a place where we say, look, let's go back to the source, and let's go back to, let's say, the Aviha Yeshivas, as our case is, you know, and say, how did he work, and how did he operate with people, and in the world of Rav Aaron Kotler, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh L'Vracha, he told people that to be a Rav of a shul, rabbi, is avodah bezuya, and what is argued with Rav Soloveitchik. You know. Now, was it like you get involved in the minutiae of balabatim and arguments and politics and talking in shul, you know, sit in the base medrash and become a tzaddik and becoming a gadol, a big talmid chacham. A correct reaction. I mean, you can understand the reaction to somebody who went through a Holocaust. You can understand what we need to, you know, who says we can't create Rebbe Kivagers? Who says we can't create Chassam Sefers? But to nobody would say that was right. It was just an emergency reaction to a situation. How can you say it's right? It's not the terror of Klal Yisrael, so that everybody has to have a piece of it has to permeate everywhere. So, so it became this Indian. So what happened? That the level of this is a big carbon, just like you have to lose a kid here and there. You lose a community here and there, because what would have happened if all of these Gedolim would have become Rabbanim of Shuls? In my humble opinion, the whole Gola, the whole America would have looked completely different. Because and it's ad kedei kach, by the way, that even let's say forgive me for my forwardness, but I was at a wedding with a very chashuv Rav. Very chashuv Rav was a musmach of Reb Soloveitchik. He's a Rav of a big shul, Talmud Chacham. And I said to him, wow, like, what's a wonderful thing, big shul, like, what is chus? So he said, my chaverim, my chaverim all make fun of me for this. Like, what are you doing with the shuls and all about it? And I said, learn, So, it's turned, it's not like even there's two hashkafas anymore. Like, even there. Now, I'm not saying this is better, that's better. I'm not, the last one to get involved with this kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is that, like, it's become, the academia has become the ikar. Now, the question is, I'm all for it. I'm all for the academia. I'm all for godless and Torah. But the question is, is that the derech of Reb Chaim Volozhin? Is that the derech Hashem? Is that the derech of the Or Pashut? Bamen nikra rachum. Like, what is the Torah for if it's not reaching the shoemaker? That's the question I'm asking. What's it for? That's not what it. That's you're not using the product as intended. You're not using the world for its designated purpose, which is to be able to make the Kvod Hashem permeate every single place in the world. So, okay, the answer, let's make a Kiruv movement. That's not the answer. That's a like, make a Kiruv movement. Who wants to be part of a Kiruv movement? Who wants to be, what the answer is, the Torah should be everywhere. That's the answer. The answer is not like, okay, I'm a designated Kiruv guy. The answer is Torah should be everywhere. Everyone, everywhere. And it seems to me that was the derech of the Chafetz Chaim. That was the derech of the Gedolim before the war. That was the derech. I read to you inside. Reb Chaim Oizer, Gadol Ador. I read it to you inside last week. Reb Chaim Oizer, the Gadol Ador, said that I used to think it was all about writing Chidushei Torah. Now I realize that's personal entertainment. The main thing is to help an alman. Yeah. So that's Akasha Tzarachiyim Al Pi HaRizal.